Again, so we have reached the exercises on the matrices. So I will be solving exercises 31 and 32 at the same time. So we need to write a function that reads a matrix. So it should take three parameters: the matrix R and C, which are the number of rows and columns, and the same for right matrix. It should take the matrix and two rows and columns. So I will add one more function, which is to read a dimension. So let's move. So let's first call the function read dimension. So obviously the function should read, should use scanf. So there's no input, however it will return a dimension, so it should be an integer. So read them. So we already wrote that using one dimensional array. So I need to read an integer. Let's call it n. So I will do a do while, since I need to be sure that the number of dimension is within the allowed size. So do a printf, enter the dimension. So we'll call that two times, one for the number of rows and one for the number of columns. %d address of n, and we will do that as long as n is less or equal to 0. So obviously there is no matrix of size 0, and it should not be more than size. So if n is less than 0 or n is greater than size, I will repeat the entry, and whenever the user enters a number in between 1 and size included, I will return n. So this is for the reading of the dimension, and let's now move to the reading of the matrix. So to read a matrix, so obviously I need the matrix that I need to fill it, and the dimension RNC. So obviously a matrix is an array, so I cannot return it in the return type, so it's void and read a matrix. So it will take a matrix, so for example integer m, two dimensions, and we have the number of rows and the number of columns. So how to read a matrix? So I just need two counters, int I and j. So I will say that for I equal to 0, I less than r, so this is the number of columns, I plus plus, and for j equal to 0, j less than c, which is the number of columns, j plus plus, and then I will ask printf, enter element %d. So I will use the same signs, so I and j. So we will have element 0, 0, and so on. And then I will do a scanf. So since it's an integer, I will say address of m of I of j. And of course, there's no return here because there's a void. So this is for reading a matrix. As for the displaying a matrix, so we will have the same prototype. So I'll just copy this function, and I will say write matrix. So obviously again I need two for loops, however there is no need for scanf here. However, I'll be printing just the element. So I will print %d. So let me here just rectify this. So I will print f %4d, d matrix m, and after each row, so outside of this inner loop, I will print f a \n in order to go to a new line. So again, there is no return value. So as for the test, so I need a matrix. So let's call it R. So obviously it's of maximum size. So we have above here the size which is equal to 100. And then I need two variables, R and C, which is the dimension of numbers of rows and columns. So the first time I will read the dimension of rows. And then another time I will read the dimension of columns. And then I will call the function read matrix. So there is no equal here because it's of type void. So I will call it R. So there is no R because we cannot use it R. So let's call it MAT. and here we have the number of rows and the number of columns, and then we have the right matrix, which is to display the matrix of size R and C. So let's run it. So why we have this error? Because we already told you during the lecture is that I cannot keep empty the second dimension. So obviously I need to place a number. So we usually will take the maximum size here. So, and we have a small error here. So let's rerun it again. And now it will work. So you should always remember that the second dimension should always be defined, because in the memory there's no matrix, there is just a consecutive array. So let's say I have dimension 2 and 3, so 2 rows and 3 columns. So 1, 2, 3. So this is the first row. 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. This was fast. So 2, 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. So just have 6 elements, and we have this matrix displayed. So the functions, the codes, we already solved that earlier. We just the trick here just here. So whenever we are passing as arguments in a matrix, so we need to specify its second dimension. And this is it for this both exercise. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to write to me and I will answer you back. And again, thanks for watching.